This is Shutters Inc. with Bruce Williams and Glynn Lavender.
Hi, and welcome to episode 546 of Shutters Inc. This is Bruce Williams from shuttersincpodcast.com, and joining me once again from Melbourne, Victoria, from creativephotoworkshops.com.au, it is Mr. Glynn Lavender. How are you?
Yes, I am, and yes, it is.
Yeah.
I am joining you. And
You're looking well this week.
Oh, it's a different lighting.
Is that what...
I've got an empty house for it.
If it looks good or if it looks bad, blame the lighting.
We're recording in daytime, and the whole house is empty. So I'm in my wife's office where it's got beautiful daylight.
Nice.
So, all things relative. It's not me, the lighting.
Excellent.
I'm as I've always been. So it's okay.
Right.
How are you? Are you well? It's been a few.
I am well. Unfortunately, in the last 2 weeks, Kath's dad passed away.
Oh, no.
Quite unexpectedly. He apparently had developed cancer back in December of last year and not told the family about it, and went into hospital on Thursday of last week to have removal of the esophagus, believe it or not, on the Friday.
And no one knew?
No one knew other than his partner. And they took him in a day early because they wanted to run some tests before they went ahead with the procedure, because obviously pretty invasive procedure. And Thursday night, while he was in the hospital, has what they class as a catastrophic hemorrhage of the brain.
That'll do it. And
was essentially brain dead from that point on. They kept him alive on, machines until family could get to the hospital to say their goodbyes. Yeah. I was at work on Friday and Kath rings me, at midday and said, how soon can you get home? Because she's broken her wrist, so she can't drive. So she couldn't even drive herself to Sydney.
How'd she break her wrist, just as an aside?
We haven't ever had a chance to talk about that. So that was Easter weekend. We went up to see her brothers who were camping up in the Myall Lakes region of New South Wales. We just drove up as a day trip. It's about 2 hours from here. And we pulled up at a servo to get a bag of ice, and as she was walking across to the ice fridge, there was a big puddle of oil in one of the car parking bays, and she didn't notice it. She's trodden in it, foot just gone straight out from under her, and as she fell, she's put her hand down, but she's landed on one of those wheel barriers. The triangular wheel barriers that your car runs up against? Yeah, and of course that's put extra pressure on her on the side of her hand. She's basically broken the bone that leads up to your pinky finger, but below the knuckle for the pinky finger. Jesus. Yeah, so it was a very short visit with the brothers, and then we drove straight back to Gosford to get her to the hospital where they, bandaged her up, put her in a plaster cast. And so because of that, she couldn't just jump in the car and drive herself to Sydney on Friday. So she rings me because I'm in Newcastle, which is, equal distance in the opposite direction, and said, can you possibly come home? I went, yep, absolutely. So I bailed out of work at 12:30 on Friday, caught the train home, so it's an hour and a half to get back to here, and then jump in the car. So by the time we get to Sydney, it's like 4:30. So she got to say her goodbyes and saw her brothers who were there at the bedside, and he had another son from a previous marriage who was in Queensland, and he was travelling down from Queensland, so they said we'll keep him alive until that son gets here, which was basically lunchtime on the Saturday. So and after that they turned the machines off. So we had a memorial service for him yesterday. So another trip down to Sydney, and so it's just been an eventful week. And along that, of course, Anzac Day on Tuesday. And for our listeners outside of Australia, Anzac stands for the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, and Anzac Day is a commemoration of one of our worst military defeats of all time, where Australian and New Zealand forces landed at Gallipoli in Turkey on the 25th of April in 1915 and got absolutely torn to shreds because the Turks were well prepared. And so we have this memorial every April 25 each year, and in Newcastle, the ABC does an outside broadcast from Nobby's Beach, which is one of the main beaches in Newcastle. And the reason that's important is because they set the stage up overlooking the beach. So for the TV cameras, it looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
because you've got
sure.
this dawn service happening as the sun is rising behind the stage. And so, so that was also part of this week for me, was doing the outside broadcast for that. For radio, we only do 1 hour, which is 5 a.m. till 6 a.m. But there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. You know, we loaded in on
20 to 5, you get there, all right?
Well, we loaded in on Monday afternoon, set everything up Monday afternoon, did line tests, made sure everything was working. And because I live so far from Newcastle, the ABC paid for accommodation for me in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And so when I finished work on Monday afternoon, I just went out and got myself some dinner and then went back to the hotel. And I thought, I'm got to be up early, right? I'm going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I might as well get to bed early.
Yeah. Well.
So I was in bed at 7:45, and I went straight to sleep because I was tired because I'd not had a great sleep the night before. 2 hours later, at 9:45, I'm woken up by the sound of a concrete saw outside the hotel. I look out the window and find that they're demolishing this old building on the block behind the hotel at bloody 10 o'clock at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking, surely this has to finish at 10. And so at 10:05, the concrete saw stops, and then they fire up this diesel-powered pump. Well, that's what it sounded like. And I'm just lying there tossing and turning going, this is absolute crap. At midnight, I went, this is just a waste of my time. I'm not getting any more sleep tonight. So I packed up and I left the hotel.
Wow.
And I went back to the radio station. And I thought, I will just lie down on the floor of my studio where at least it'll be quiet. And I may get to sleep and I may not, but I can't be any worse off than I was at the hotel. And as it was, I didn't get back to sleep. So I was functioning on 2 hours of sleep for the outside broadcast.
When you did, thankfully, at least a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
could have been posted. What'd you say to the hotel? I would have been livid at the damn hotel.
Well, you know, I did.
Yeah.
I rang the reception desk at about 10:30, 10:45, and said, how long is this crap going to go on next door? And they went, we didn't even know about it. We can't hear it from here. And they offered to put me in another room, and I just thought, by the time I pack all my gear up and move to another room, I'm going to be super wide awake, and I'm not going to go back to sleep for sure, So I just didn't even bother taking up that offer. But then at midnight, I just went, this is just ridiculous. So it's been an interesting week. Anyway, and what have you been up to?
Well, I've been up to quite a bit, actually. But I was at a concert the other day, and I was thinking about you.
Oh, okay.
So I see a guy called Marcus King and a band called Vintage Trouble playing. And
I've been listening to his stuff since you put me onto him. It's great.
Really cool. Really cool venue. I mean, beautiful venue. Old venue. It had like a old Art Deco bar all the way down half the middle of the floor where you stand for the concert.
Nice.
It had a little mezzanine level. Fabulous room. Really cool shaped roof. Everything else.
Yep.
But the sound was terrible.
Oh, really?
Okay, we're standing right in front of the sound engineer, the sound deck, so we expect the sound to be as good as it's going to get.
Yep, exactly.
And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I mean, there for the first 5 or 6 songs, he's spending all his time just fiddling with his amps trying to get the sound right. So he's back to the audience, just trying to. They even came and took away the perspex. There's perspex shields they have in front of the amps.
Yep.
That one song they came and took those away. Every member of the band was pointing at sound engineers all the way through, going, "Fix this, fix this."
Wow.
But that aside, which was obviously terrible, and the concert was not good for a couple of reasons. Partly their own fault. They were a bit bloated. Right. You know how, like in jazz musicians, sometimes they can tend to be a little. I want to keep playing my solo, and then you're going to solo. Well, this is an 8-piece band, and everyone had solos, like in every song, for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just anyway. But I was wondering at the time, and I know this is a photography podcast, but we don't talk about photography. anyway, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. We should maybe change the name, Crap Sync or something, you know. But I was wondering, when you do sound checks, you're doing it to an empty room.
Yep.
And then you've got to do play with all this body mass inside. Yep. How do you work is there a formula you use? You know, or is it just let's just set it up and hope for the best?
Well, obviously, when you've got an empty room, you've got much more reflected sound to contend with than you will have once the room is full of people. The other side of it, or the next part of it, is that putting all of those warm bodies into the room will also dampen the top end.
Yeah, of course.
If anything, during sound check, you're probably going to, EQ things so that they sound a little bit brighter than you actually want, because once you fill the room with bodies, some of that top end will get sucked up. But I must say, I'm not a live sound engineer. That's not been my specialty, so it's not really
and just what you're saying there about the EQ makes sense. I can kind of understand how you. I was wondering if there was a formula to say, okay, we needed to be actually sounding bad during sound check to make it sound good during the show.
So, One of the things that I can tell you about the way anyone who's running a decent PA system, they will have the ability to EQ individual sources, and they will have a master EQ on the output of the desk, but they'll also run a pair of what are called third octave graphic equalizers. So it's a 31-band equalizer that's got individual sliders for 31 different frequencies. And they EQ the signal in between the mixing desk and the power amps. So that allows you to, you can do a sound check through headphones and go, that sounds absolutely magnificent in my headphones. And then you can take your headphones off and go, whoa, that sounds like crap in the room. And so you then adjust the third octave graphic equalizers to EQ the room. So you're trying to get the PA system to sound in the room the way it sounds in your headphones. Now, I would imagine that in this day of recallable EQs, that are digital, you could probably simulate an EQ curve to give you an idea of what the room will sound like once it's full of people. I would imagine that live engineers who've been doing it long enough would have come across this and gone, why does it sound different once we're, happening for real compared to how it sounded when I did the sound check? And, when you've got enough experience, you come to understand that, putting bodies in a room is going to change the frequency response of the room. And that therefore you need to EQ for that during sound check and then remove that EQ once the show starts for real. That would be my guess, but like I said, it's not really my bailiwick.
It's a fascinating thing to have to visualise and work on to make sense. But the weird thing is that the support act, Vintage Trouble, sounded great.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the support act were brilliant. I mean, I went and saw Buddy Guy.
Oh yeah,
a guy called Christone Kingfish Ingram, who's one of my favourite new blues artists.
Right.
So they played together, and then 2 nights later saw Marcus King and Vintage Trouble. Of the four, Vintage Trouble were the best as far as show they put on. Dynamic live performance. So that was pretty good.
Did Keb Mo play down in Melbourne?
No. Actually, no. I'm not sure if he played. There's a mini blues fest down here. I'm not sure if he played there, but I had my week filled up already with music. So
if you ever get a chance to see Keb Mo, he's great as well.
Buddy Guy, I'd never seen Buddy Guy live, and I'd heard his music, but never seen him live. I'd never even seen him perform like on a video or anything. Right. So it was those old-timey showmen, It was imagine you've got to see Sparksborough or just one of the great performers, and they thought, man, what a show! That was just so his quirks and his just the way he performed. He'd be playing a song and he'd go, "Nah, that'll do. That's enough of that one," and. Like 2/3 of the way through, and then you ramble off in some sort of little discussion. So I got home and I was pretty psyched. I thought that was a really good show. So I thought I'll put him up on YouTube. And I found this video from like 2003, so 20 years ago, and I put it on live. Exactly the same shtick, same word for word. It's exactly the same. There's nothing original or new or interesting at all. It's just the same shtick he's been doing.
You know, I was
years.
thinking about what you were saying about Marcus King and about there being 8 people on stage and all wanting to solo. And I'm thinking that's where you need a dictator like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy who has 19 people on the stage.
I know.
And you don't ever find that problem happening at a Springsteen show, you know, because it's his show and you'll solo when he tells you to solo.
Well, Marcus was letting them go, but there was one guy who was playing the sax and the tambourine, and I was like, don't you dare to sing the tambourine solo, dude. Don't you dare.
Dear.
So speaking of music, I've gone down a rabbit hole this last 2 weeks, and this artist called Ren, who I've sent some stuff through to you about.
Mate, unbelievable.
Now, fortunately, you've known me for a while. I'm not one for hyperbole.
No.
I'm not one for grandiose statements at all, Bruce. I'm grounded.
Not at all.
But I'm calling him now the greatest performer since Prince, the greatest musician since Prince.
I wouldn't go so far as to say musician, but certainly performer.
You haven't seen all this stuff.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So I've
seen 2 or 3 videos.
Music.
I've seen 2 or 3.
So wait till you hear his ballads, and his songs, and his singing voice, and his musicianship. So, and the reason I call this is I've been sitting thinking. So this is kind of a one-man show.
Yeah.
He records everything in a tiny one-bedroom studio. I mean, tiny one-bedroom studio. His bed. He could go off his mixing deck and pick up his pillow without moving.
Yeah.
So small. So he does everything himself. So I call him because I can't think of another musician who can do as many different things, and you've only seen limited stuff, but the variety of stuff this guy can do is Prince-like, because Prince did everything, could do every style of music, This guy's the same. He does everything. But what elevates this guy as well is he does all the visual. So most of his videos are done live, one-take live shooting, which in itself is remarkable. You know? But that's thousands of hours of street busking coming out. He's performed. I was talking my wife about this the other day, that most bands don't perform very often when they're starting out.
No.
They get to rehearse. That's not the same as performing.
No.
But if you're a busker and you're out doing 6 or 7 hours every day, 5-6 days a week, you've got the street miles to be able to perform. So he does one take videos, which are quite remote, and storytelling quite often as well, which is And so the songs aren't just fluff, which a lot of music is these days. There's content, there's dark content. No, and I think if anyone has ever suffered any form of mental health issues or physical health issues, this guy's misdiagnosed with major illnesses for 8 years and spent 23 hours a day in bed.
Wow.
And literally his brain on fire for years and not being able to function. And misdiagnosed for 8 years, they finally realised it was Lyme disease. He'd been bitten by a tick. Because it was misdiagnosed so long, the damage the body had done to itself, because basically when you have Lyme disease, your body fights your immune system.
Right.
So that your own body attacks your own immune system, and so it destroyed part of his brain. So this guy's gone through just living hell.
Yeah.
And but I said just the sheer breadth of music. But what interested me was the fact that he's now starting to come out a little bit out of. He's having some treatments that are helping finally. So he's now 33. So at 17, he signed a contract with Sony Music to be, and then at 19 they dumped him because he was full of disease and couldn't do anything. And so for the next 8 years he was just in bed basically.
Wow.
He's one of the greatest users of social media that I've seen so far. And the fact that it's content which is really dynamic and interesting, but then encourages all these reuses of content on YouTube, like reaction video people.
Right.
He wants them to take his content and react to it, whereas there's no copyright issues. There's no you'll have no claims. So by doing this, his latest video in 4 months has had 11 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, for an artist recording.
For an artist with no recording contract.
Yeah. And coming out of his little one-bedroom studio. So just the use of social media. Even just today, so he's releasing a new song next week.
Yeah.
Apparently, his favourite book is Animal Farm.
Oh, George Orwell.
fairly dystopian. And it looks like his new video is going to be that theme. And there's a link on it. There's a little trailer, a little link say, for more, click here, and you put your name and detail. And I just received an invitation this morning. It says, "My dearest friend, I am delighted to let you know you are invited to attend a place behind the curtain where what you know will turn uncertain. 4th of May on YouTube Live. The dress code is an open mind. The clock strikes 8. The world goes mad. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad." And that one's beautiful little old paper, the intro. Yeah. I mean, that's just epically good, social media work to get people. Great. And so now everyone's sitting waiting. And apparently, when his last video, he did a live Twitch. I don't know what Twitch is. Live Twitch feed after his last video came out. It was like 1 hour after the live release. He did this thing. And there were already like hundreds of videos, reaction videos of his new video on YouTube by the time he started twitching. And he's going to people, look at all this, and he's showing online just how many of these things. It's just so quite interesting use of social media, you know.
Yeah.
So REN, if anyone wants to find something new, it's like finding new music. It's
the video that Glynn sent to me first was a video called Hi Ren, which I will put a link to in the show notes, and I cannot recommend this highly enough. As I said to you, I'm not a fan of rap, and certainly not of white rap, but I think this guy is better than Eminem.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
And
he's not rapping in that. He's just talking fast. Once you see his rap is
really
speed rapping.
Wow.
It's like, I don't even know what you just said. Yeah. But you saw the money. You saw the money part 1.
Yes,
which is astounding. Once again, one take.
And I watched Money. What is it? Money Game.
Part 2.
Yeah,
Money Game. Money Game.
Money Game.
1, part 2.
Yeah, and I went and watched part 2, and part 2 has the subtitles burned into the video, which was great because the YouTube subtitles actually miss a few things. But I actually thought part 2 was better than part 1.
Oh, totally. But see, part 1's kind of the setting you up, and part 2 is getting you into the story.
Yeah.
But he puts Easter eggs in his music, so that part 2 has she sells, right? But then in High Ren, it's seashells. So he's referencing his own videos, which you don't realise when you see it for the first time because you don't have that backstory.
Right.
But when you go back to the catalogue, he's referencing his own videos.
Yeah, right.
He does that multiple times.
Wow.
But once again, the production, one take, live, and that High Ren thing they only shot it 4 times. They did 4 attempts, and that's it.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing for a 9-minute long, pretty intense video.
Yeah.
That very broad range of stuff that you can't pigeonhole. And the good thing is you don't know what's coming next. And I've always liked an artist that keeps you
on your toes.
Interested. What's different from song to song? What are you doing? So that's worthwhile having a bit of a gander at.
Yep.
I've written something here saying physical, and I don't have a clue what that means. We want to go on to that one. Guess what I did this week?
What did you do
this week? I did my first one-on-one training in 2.5 years.
Wow. How'd it go?
My first any training in 2.5 years, frankly.
Yeah, right.
And did I feel rusty? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, this might surprise you, Bruce, but I didn't prepare. Some surprises going on. So I went down there cold, and it's just got Dan and John, a guy and his 2 kids, and we've been trying to do it for 2 years. This training, between COVID and my health, it hadn't been possible. So I finally got it done. And, we spent, 3 or 4 hours doing natural light lesson, learning natural light. Yeah, and we didn't move 25 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, from the spot we met, we didn't move 25 feet. We did so much variety, it was crazy.
Nice.
And it's like, I remember why I like doing this. This is to see people's eyes open about what's possible with the... So I told him to bring his 200 to 500 mil lens. Oof. And he's like... So what? A portrait? and we're doing photos in a park with some little buildings next to it, like libraries and stuff like that. They're very, very humdrum, nothing location. And the amount of variety we could pull up so without going more than 20 feet was sensational. So that was a lot of fun.
But the good thing about a 200 to 500 is you could take a humdrum location and make it look epic.
Well, that's it. I mean, I used. I only did one shot with that. Well, maybe did a couple of shots, but I took one photo with this 200 500 to demonstrate, which is a big grey walled building, like sandstone.
Right. Yeah.
And it had this grey panel, probably 4 foot wide by about 3 foot high, behind some bushes. There's low bushes, like little rose plants and stuff. So, and I got his kid to stand about 20 feet in front of it. Yeah. Okay. So in the middle of a footpath, basically. And we stood about another 20 or so feet further down the road. And with a 500mm lens, we've got nothing but a black background. Yeah. Yeah, because it's that narrow angle of view knocks out everything to do with the building except that small little black panel. and you're just looking at the scene. And there's this tiny thing on this huge building in the middle of a park, and what you can create in camera versus what the world is like was just it was a pretty mind blowing moment for him, and it was made me feel like I could still do this stuff, which is
nice.
Good.
Oh, that's
but I
good.
must admit, it did take a very lot out of me.
Did it?
To the point that I was driving home, I thought I've got to sleep. It was like an hour and a quarter drive home, and I would have driven off the road into a tree if I didn't pull over and get a nap. So this is a little area called Dog Rocks, which is a beautiful little location, just a few minutes out of town. It's got beautiful big granite boulders and some nice trees, and it's on the hilltop and everything. And there's a road right next to it, and it's a lovely scene. You can look out over a bit of a valley. I thought I'll go up there, and I'll feel like I'm out in the country and having a bit of a relax, and I'll be able to fall asleep easy enough.
Yep.
So I've driven up there, and this is probably about 4:15. I've closed my eyes, and I've woken up. It's 5:45. So like an hour and a hal's gone by. It's like completely overslept. But I've woken up just as sunset's starting.
Oh, nice.
But there, on top of Dog Rocks, is this woman and a man sitting watching the sunset with two dogs.
Nice.
I had my 150 to 600 in the bag.
Sweet.
So I quickly jumped out, stood across the other side of the road, probably 550, 600 mil, and framed, and of course that brings the sun in really nice and big.
Yeah.
So there's this gorgeous shot silhouette of two dogs, two people in the sun setting. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So and then pretty happy with that. Popped across the street, popped on the 15 to 30, jumped over the fence and did a landscape. I did a landscape photo, Bruce.
I know. I commented with one word on your Facebook post. I said Judas.
I thought it might have been hacked. Have you So anyway, so I put both of those photos in the Dropbox folder too, in case you want to use it as a thumbnail.
Okay, beautiful.
But that was kind of nice. It was to get out and do something to actually take some photos as well. So it was kind of good.
Awesome.
Then, so it's been quite a busy week photograph. Then I just got contacted yesterday to do some stuff at the Ballarat Festival of Photography this coming October.
Nice.
So it's probably one of Australia's biggest photography festivals. So I'll be doing some stuff up there for Tamarron in October. So if anyone's going up there, that'll be good. And I'm doing a talk on May the 9th, so whenever that is, next week something, in Bacchus Marsh in Victoria, the Bacchus Marsh Camera Club. So if anyone's...
That must be a Tuesday, I think?
You'd expect I'd have any clue. You know.
Good point.
I used to try and wait until they remind me via message. Oh, it's still on for tonight? Still okay, isn't it? What do you mean tonight? What's on tonight? I had one club... I don't know how this happened. I probably do, but anyway, this one club once messaged. It was like 7:40 or something on a Tuesday night, and they said, "You're still coming tonight, aren't you, Glynn?" I'm going, what? And it's like 8 o'clock start, half an hour. Fortunately, the place is only about 25 minutes, half an hour away from me. And I'm at home, I'm looking after the kids, I'm babysitting the kids, it's like a school night, and I'm all about it. And it's like, oh my God. We had to very quickly bolt down there and get that done. So that was quite funny. So anyone in that area, in the area of Bacchus Marsh, come down and say g'day, it'd be good.
Since 2005, Shutters Inc. has been a labour of love. But beyond the time required to produce it, there is also a financial commitment. If you find value in the podcast and would like to help keep the servers running, hit up the Patreon link, which is in the show notes. Even a couple of dollars a month will help. Much appreciated. Now, back to the podcast.
I just saw literally before coming on air that not wanting to get political,
Right.
especially US politics, but I did see an interesting thing. The Republican Party just released a new advert in America.
Okay.
Countering Biden's announcement that he was going to run for president again.
Right.
But the entire advert is generated with AI, which is why I thought it was interesting.
Wow. Okay.
So but the imagery they're using is all pretty dark, like China invading Taiwan.
Right.
80,000 people at the border trying to break into America. And Biden with his head in his hands kind of stuff, not knowing what to do. And it starts off with President Biden announces 2024 president. And then it shows all the terrible things that's going to happen to the world. But that's all done with AI. And again, you look at the imagery, you think that's pretty darn realistic stuff, you know? I'm just going to imagine how all sorts of future elections and stuff, how you can't trust anything you see.
No.
I mean, we're going to turn a world that's already distrusting into completely not believing any. It doesn't matter how real something is.
You will not be able to believe anything you haven't seen with your own eyes.
No, that's what I'm saying. If I'm out in the streets and I see something, Bruce, I'm not going to believe it now, just in case. Just in bloody case. Oh, I just saw that car crash into a pole. No, I didn't. No, that's just my AI. You know what it is? It's a bloody chip.
We're living in the Matrix.
They put in the chip, and the chip's controlling the AI in my brain to make me see stuff in the streets. And it's all controlled with 5G, even though my phone only does 4G.
That's right.
I'm a G short. Mind you, I think a few people might have thought that for many years. I'm a G. So I thought that was interesting. I did also come across one other thing that was quite amazing yesterday, and I can't remember. I didn't even think about the podcast, but I found out there's a place in Venezuela,
right,
near the confluence of a lake and a river,
okay,
where it has a particular type of lightning. I have to look up the name again. And so where they have, on average, 28 strikes of lightning a minute for 9 hours a day, every day for 300 days a year.
What?
28, average of 28 strikes.
Every minute?
Just after sunset for 9 hours, on average, 9 hours for on average 300 days a year.
Wow.
I've never even heard, how's this place not in everybody documentary about remarkable nature?
Yeah.
You know? I've kind of looked at a few things, and they talk about the science of why it happens and how everything sort of comes together in this one particular spot. But it was, could you imagine the photo opportunity?
I know. But even more, where's our Doc from Back to the Future who can capture that?
I know.
Imagine the electrical potential there.
You could fire off about 50 DeLoreans a minute. Well,
that's right.
Probably 28.
Well, 28 of them. But imagine the electrical potential if you could capture that.
Just Catatumbo lightning, it's called.
Wow.
It's an atmospheric phenomenon that occurs over the mouth of the Catatumbo River, where it empties into Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. Wow. And Catatumbo means house of thunder in the language of the Bali people.
That's epic.
It's just, I mean, I want to go there and see this.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so this other one I'm looking at, a different one here, says between 140 to 160 nights a year. The other one said 300.
Ooh. But
this one also said it flashes from 16 to 40 times a minute.
Wow.
And it originates from a mass of storm clouds an altitude of more than a kilometre and occurs, it's the highest density of lightning in the world.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it changes, the lightning changes its flash frequency throughout the year, and it's different year to year.
Wow.
How bizarre, you know. Now, I was once in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
Evening. It was a summer evening. Oh, maybe it wasn't summer. I don't know. Could have been too late in the summer because it was dark by like 11 o'clock. So
okay.
Where normally it could be not getting dark until 3, you know. So
yeah. But
I was in this lightning storm there that had it was basically just continuous lightning, literally continuous lightning, mostly sheet.
Yeah.
At least 5 or 6 hours.
Wow.
But no thunder. No thunder at all.
How bizarre.
None. I know. So I'm sitting in this farm field. It's dark. Well, it's not pitch black because there's lightning's going off almost continuously, creating, and there's like lightning bugs flying around through the air and stuff. This lightning goes, and it was just the most, but almost eerily silent. which
Wow.
was...
So it must have been a very long way away.
No, it was like over the entire sky.
Yeah, right.
It's like the entire, literally from the horizon to horizon, all around you.
But
I don't know.
My very basic understanding of physics is that thunder is created by the lightning strikes. It's the superheating of the air by the electrical discharge that creates the acceleration of sound waves beyond the speed of sound. And
completely agree with you. No idea.
That is crazy.
No idea at all. It was the strangest thing,
Wow.
And literally not a sound. Not a solitary sound. And that from memory, there may have been 1 or 2 bits of thunder, but compared to the amount of lightning, there were nothing.
Wow.
So
that's true.
So there's all the interesting things that's come across my deck this week anyway.
Yeah.
Was there, so...
Well, we have now booked our flights to America and onto Alaska. Well, that's still America, but yeah, so flying the Red Kangaroo from here to LA and then LA up to Anchorage. So that's booked, and we've put our deposit down for our 7-night inland passage from Whittier to Vancouver. Woohoo. And I think, to answer your question from the last episode, I think we're going to have about 36 hours in Vancouver, so...
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, so if you've got things that are in Vancouver itself that you think are worth having a look at, send me a list. And, yeah, so...
There's 4 things you've got to do in Vancouver, so that's pretty good. You can do that in... And it's all downtown. So,
okay.
Well, I mean, so you can see other beautiful stuff elsewhere, so you don't have to travel anywhere. But there's a few things, just especially if you're wanting some decompression time to go for a bit of a walk and stretch the legs and that sort of stuff. It's yeah, for sure. Okay.
Cool.
Mind you, could I also ask a favour?
Sure.
When I lived there, I left a box of stuff. If you could pop round to the house and give it a knock, see if it's still there. It's only been 26 years.
Right.
And it's only like about a metre high, half metre wide box. It's not so. If you could bring that back, will you? If it's still there. Yeah. It only weighs 30 kilos. Yes.
I'll see what I can do for you, mate.
I'll send you the address.
Yeah, so pretty excited about that.
Oh, I can't blame that. Now it's all countdown now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're down to about 130 days now. So
yeah. Very excited for you.
David Fulton did send us an email.
Oh, no, before you go on, because it actually is related to David Fulton, and I was wondering what this little hint said. Dave Fulton sent me through something the other day, which I thought was very fascinating. Yeah. It was mostly just to me, not a thing. But he sent through this. He's on some group on Facebook, and this woman started commenting on this guy's photos and having a go at him. Because he'd taken this lovely photo of this landscape of this, red rocks and some almost like canyon sort of stuff, really kind of cool landscape. Right. And she's written, where are you from? Stop advertising this special little town. I was born and raised here, and you're using it as a money maker by putting a photo up online of this landscape. Then the guy goes, look, I'm a paediatrician from Baltimore, Maryland, and I don't make a dime on my pics. It's just my hobby. And then she comes back, it might be your hobby, but stop posting it. It's my hometown. You live in Baltimore. Post about things there. Is that not one of the strangest Facebook posts you've ever... Don't take photos of anywhere but your own place. That is just bizarre.
That's the world of Facebook for you. In a nutshell.
Unbelievable. Anyway, so what did Dave Fulton send through?
David Fulton said, enjoy the trip to Alaska. September 06, we visited Alaska. I visited Alaska travelling solo, planned around the Alaska Rail Gold Star service, which we will be doing. It was worth it. That outdoor viewing platform is really cold, and Alaska Marine Highway from Homer to Kodiak stayed for almost 3 weeks. Flew into Fairbanks from Melbourne on a Friday, 27-hour journey, needed a weekend to recover. I would break up my journey these days. If you get time, have a look at Creamers Field Nature Reserve. And while I was there, it was a short walk to a state fair, animals entertainment, rides, food. Locals rarely, if ever, see anyone from Oz. I liked my weekend there, booked into a nice hotel overlooking the Chena River. Anchorage Weekend Market is worth a look if you're there. Cool. Thank you, David. I will add those things to our list of notes. What were you going to say, Glynn?
Just said hot tips.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, it's a hot tip for you there, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to love a bit of local advice.
Absolutely.
Well, semi-local. Melbourne.
Someone who's been there before. Yeah. And David Marland also sent us a link to a YouTube playlist completely devoted to infrared photography. So I will confess to not having ever explored infrared photography, don't have the gear, but if anyone is interested, definitely.
I think David's been doing some lately. I think
he has. He's been posting a few images. Yeah.
So stop filling my feed up with crap, David. Yeah.
So anyway, that's the sum total of our photographic chat for this podcast.
We actually mentioned cameras and stuff this time. Well, not cameras, but taking photos.
We must have covered at least 15% of the runtime of the podcast with photography talk.
So more than normal is what you're saying.
Yes.
We should do it. If any of our readers ever responded to anything listeners, ever responded to anything we asked of them, we could do a poll saying, would you want more or less? or about the same. Yeah. Come from the stay for the crap.
That's it. Exactly. All right, mate. Well, good to chat with you.
Enjoy your day at work. I'm going to have a morning nap.
Excellent. You enjoy that.
Yeah. No one's home, except for the cats. What a time to have a nap.
Got to make the most of it.
Living life to the fullest.
That's it.
Sleep through it.
Excellent, mate. All right, well, you take care, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
You've been listening to Shutters Inc. For questions, comments, and feedback, email theboys@shuttersincpodcast.com.